Aloha, Ronnie Landis here, the host of the official Ronnie Landis podcast show, which is what you are about to listen to right now, and also the founder of the Holistic Health Mastery Nutrition Certification Program, and you can find more information about that at holistichealthmastery.com. And I also want to highly encourage each person to go over to iTunes, type in the Ronnie Landis podcast show, and just write a quick review. If you've been listening to these shows, you enjoy them, you're really appreciating all the value and education that you're deriving out of these podcasts, then it would mean a lot to me if you would write a quick review. I personally get to see all the feedback that people are leaving, and it helps me kind of tune up everything in terms of how can I continue to provide more value. What kind of guests are people interested? Do people actually like the guests that we're putting on, which so far has been a resounding yes, yes, yes. And it just gives me more really cool feedback that I can use to refine this podcast. And then also, it boosts up the ratings. And the only reason I actually care about that is because it exposes this podcast to more genres all over iTunes. It provides a bigger audienceship that get to see the podcast and essentially helps me fulfill my mission of exposing this information and these educational podcasts to more and more people around the world. So that would mean a lot to me if you could do that, and thank you. So, today's episode, our special guest, Anna Maria Panici, otherwise known as Anna Bliss. And this is really, it's definitely an amazing conversation, no doubt about that. But it goes in quite a different direction than we've ever traveled down in any other podcast. It brings a completely new dimension to the healing arts and I want to say the human optimization, if I could use the term peak performance, in this context, I definitely think that this applies. What Anna Bliss does professionally is a type of healing work called past life regression therapy through hypnosis, through hypnotherapy essentially. And this is something that is not new to me. This has been on my radar for, at least almost 7 years or so. I got exposed to the work of past life regression therapy via the legendary Dolores Cannon. So if you've been into, like channeling work, for example, like Abraham Hicks or even Bashar, or some of those more esoteric fields of study, like past life regression therapy very much is, in occult studies and stuff like that. Dolores Cannon's name might come up for you, and she's really, if you've never heard of Dolores Cannon, you should definitely look into her, because she was really like the pioneer of this whole field that Anna is now really bringing to the forefront through her professional work. But hypnotherapy and past life regression therapy is just so fascinating. The idea that we have lived multiple lives. Our soul has incarnated multiple times over, and we can actually heal self-imposed traumas that have crystallized into our current physical body that are remnants or derivatives of past lives that we've lived. So unresolved issues with loved ones, unresolved issues or traumas that we've endured in different segments of the overall, karmic life cycle, if you will. It's just such a fascinating idea. But then when you match it up with the science, when you match it up with actual people's experiences of doing past life regression therapy and doing these things in a hypnotic state, and then they tell you their accounts of what their life is like now, and the different healing that has occurred in their life, and also physically after having this work done on them, it changes the way that you might think of healing or think of the body, or our conventional paradigm around these things, it really helps to kind of shift our paradigm and open up the gateways to more expanded perspectives on healing and human optimization, and also getting our brain firing on all cylinders. Pretty cool stuff. So anyways, I know you're going to love this interview. I loved it. I love talking about it. I have a feeling that after this interview goes out, which it obviously is now, people are going to want to have Anna back on for a second round. So if that's the case, then, hit me up, let me know. But other than that, I am going to bring on Anna Maria Panici. Enjoy. Born and raised in Europe, Anna moved to the United States as a teenager, where she quickly adapted to her new life and home. After graduating college, she went on to pursue her childhood dreams of acting and modeling, which she did for many years after. During this time, she felt spiritually unfulfilled and so invested in her spiritual and creative endeavors, thus pursuing a path of self-realization. During her training as a hypnotherapist in 2009, Anna delved deeper into her natural healing abilities, which she was born with, and anchored in her intuitive knowledge with certificates in REIKI and THETA energy healing, emotional healing technique, quantum healing hypnosis, past life regression therapy, and specialized in manifestation coaching. In 2010, she graduated from the accredited Hypnosis Motivation Institute of TARZANA with a certificate in hypnotherapy. Since then, she has been seeing and helping people from all over the world, is leading workshops in Los Angeles, and is fully committed to a career of holistic healing work. Welcome to the show, Anna.
Thank you, Ronnie. So good to be here.
Absolutely. It's so fascinating to me. We have been friends for a number of years, and really I got to find out about you just through our mutual friends in our community. And it's funny because I didn't really actually know the core work that you were doing. I just kind of got to know you on the sidelines and as a person, but didn't really know the work you're doing. So when you released your new book, I really took notice. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then dived into what you're doing. And it was a breath of fresh air, I have to say. I was really astonished, and that's when I realized, hey, I need to get this woman on the show and really dive in, because I think there's a treasure trove of wisdom and insight here for everybody. So, yeah, it's an honor to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you.
You know, the first thing I thought about, and I have to ask you this question, probably like 5 or 6 years ago, when I started getting more into like occult studies and esoteric studies, I came across the work of Dolores Cannon. Mm-hmm. And that was the first introduction into past life regression and really hypnotherapy as an art form and as a modality for healing that I became aware of. And her work just really struck a chord with me. And I find myself deferring back to her work, just the wisdom that she shared on the planet, and like the Convoluted Universe series and all that cool stuff. So that was really my first introduction into this work. I imagine that you definitely got introduced to her work as well.
Yes, I have. I absolutely love Dolores and her message and her studies and findings and explorations of quantum interdimensional space hypnosis travel. She's really out there with that, and I love it. I pretty much have found very, very similar information doing this work, working with subconscious mind and people's past lives, and I've gone so far out there and came to find that a lot of what she was talking about resonates, and there's validity to that. And I think the more people that do such research, the more that we're getting, this information, and that it's basically true. And there's there's something to look at, you know.
Mm, absolutely. So, I definitely want you to actually share or explain the actual work that you do. A lot of people on this radio show, I assume, may not be totally familiar with hypnotherapy, or they may just have a connotation, an interpretation of it based on a program or based on what they were sold in a movie or whatever the case is in past life regression. So I definitely want you to share what that actually is for people. But to start off, could you just share how you even started this journey?
Sure. And yes, I totally agree with you. A lot of people, most people have been just told, you know, that or shown in TV shows and about hypnosis, and you know that it's a stage play, and that it's not real. It's just there to basically just just for fun. And from my experience, when I started working with hypnosis and getting hypnotized, basically I had powerful realizations and transformations, and I've seen it in myself, you know, when I started my own healing and going deeper into myself and just wanting to find answers and get to know myself on a deeper level. And so I got hypnotized. That's what got me into it. It was 7 years ago. I had a few hypnosis sessions and past life regressions, and it totally opened up my mind. Literally, it did. And then I just loved it so much that I had to learn it, and I had to get certified. And basically, one thing led to another, and then a year passed by. I got my certificate, and I had an office, and then I was just doing it for friends, for fun. And then more people started to find me and see me, and then before you know it, now I have a full-on business practice and do some pretty amazing things with it. And I don't hypnotize anyone into barking like a dog or walking like a dog. That's really silly. It can be done, but it's really silly, and it's not what hypnosis is used for.
So what is hypnosis used for in the work that you do? Because I know obviously you work with helping to I guess I would say reformat the unconscious programs that are holding us hostage. That's my own lingo, my own language. Um,
hmm
how do you go about that, or maybe to further elaborate on how that work affects our health and our life in general?
Well, the way that hypnosis affects our health is by going into your subconscious mind. Basically, you're able to see what's there. You know what kind of blocks you have in your life, because we create from inside out. You know, life happens not from outside in, but from inside out. So basically, whatever beliefs you have about what's possible for you, what life is to you, and what kind of energy, um, emotional energy barriers you have, then that's the degree to which you will experience life. And so when people start to go on this path of self-realization or self-discovery, spiritual fulfillment, and it happens more and more as people are awakening to the fact that we're not just physical humans, but we have a spirit and a soul. And then they start to dig deeper in themselves. And that basically leads them to find out that, oh, wow, like they may have some beliefs from the past and fears and traumas that are so deep lodged in the subconscious, you know, in the DNA, that you can't just heal it or fix it or clear it on your own. So basically, you get either shamanic medicine work, help, or work with a hypnotherapist or past life regressionist, and just do deep healing work to remove these blocks, basically, that stop us from having fulfilled and happy and, full spectrum human experience. So.
And so, okay, so from that perspective, let's bring in the past life regression aspect, because that's like a whole nother thing, and that's a huge fascination of mine. I think that's a fascination of a lot of people right now. A lot of people are curious, and they're more accepting of the idea that we may have not just gone around this game one time, but we may have gone around many, many times, and people are very curious to know, like, what secrets for their life now could be traced back into past lives. So can we touch about that?
What secrets in their
Well,
life now can be traced back? What do you mean
well,
exactly
I
by
just
that?
mean, like, I guess what I'm hinting at is the idea that if we can understand or get an idea of in this parliament, in this term of past life, like having a past life, I found for me, I'll just share that, like, that I was able to get a little more grasp through certain work that I did on possibly the past lives that I had carried out before. And that was able to give me a little bit of a bridge or clues as to the patterns that I was playing out right now, or some of the emotional traumas that I had, not knowing why I may have felt this consistent state of anxiety around certain things, or why I was triggered around things that I couldn't trace in my current life, right? I couldn't figure out why certain things were coming up. So for me, the idea of looking into past life memories, if you will, I found that to be very fascinating to kind of retrace where some of these things might have been coming from.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yes. You're definitely right on, because what happens with us, right, is our DNA contains our imprints of our energy, right? Our total energy. And what DNA does is it replicates. So it likes to just replicate and do the same thing, kind of like it
Mm-hmm.
twirls. And um, that happens in our lives too. Basically, we notice that we have patterns and we tend to repeat patterns. And so there's greater patterns that tend to be repeated from lifetime to lifetime that have to do with our own personal lessons that we learn or don't learn. So if you don't learn a lesson in a lifetime, then guess what? You're going to have to come back and repeat it. So you pretty much end up doing the same things with a little variation from lifetime to lifetime until you get it right, until you learn it, until you heal it, until you release the fear, the negativity, the judgment, the anger, all these negative, lower vibrational emotions that keep us stuck from ascending and from being our highest self and from reconnecting with our higher selves and ultimately reaching the state of nirvana, samadhi, self-realization, enlightenment, bliss, unity with God, right? So that's the path for everyone, from dark to light. So however many lifetimes it takes to get there, we eventually get there. And just like in our lives now, you can look back and see patterns repeating. And that's pretty much how I work with people, is through pattern recognition, because then we can identify, okay, this is how your energy's been, this is how it will be if you don't heal this, if you don't clear this, and then we work with stopping, such negative behavior patterns and redirect that energy into the life that we do desire and do wish to have and the experience that we do want. So we're talking about getting our power back into deliberate conscious creation as opposed to operating from a past habitual pattern, right? Because the subconscious mind is over 90% of our thinking. So that means
Mm-hmm.
that most of the thoughts we have, which is about 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, come from patterns, from habitual thinking. and emotions also operate with that. So that's a great way of telling, looking at the patterns, and then, okay, this is something I like, or this is something I don't like. So you can make changes accordingly in your life. And the things you like, great, keep at that. The things you don't like, it shows that there's some kind of block or program, aka false belief, that is stopping you from having the experience that you ultimately do desire to have.
That's really well put. And there's a lot of really juicy things that come up in me when I hear that explanation. I think of the iceberg example, where you only see the tip of the iceberg, but the actual structure of it is mostly submerged underwater. So you don't actually
Mhm.
see the 90 to 95% of that actual
Mhm.
structure. And so that's the same thing with our conscious and subconscious mind, right? Is that most of
Mhm.
our identity, how we self-identify with ourselves, the things that we associate with ourselves, and most of it's submerged underneath the curtain, underneath what we don't presently see. So I find a lot of times we are creating micro dramas in our life, and furnishing our experience with all these different things that we attach to our identity. And most of what's operating our paradigm is underneath the surface, right?
Yes, very much so. Very, very much so. That's why it's so hard to access, and that's why it's so hard to make changes on your own, you know, um, as much as we want to. And it is possible, it just takes a lot longer, you know.
Mm.
It took me years and years to figure it out. And then when I got help and assistance and I was working with professionals, and it totally helped me so much to see the things that I was blindsided about, which is a lot of things that we just can't see. Like it's below our conscious awareness, like the 90% of our habits and beliefs that are so deep. And some of these some of this is only accessible when you do like the deepest kind of work, which is to me past life regressions, because then we go into all those areas and we go into the deepest parts of the subconscious and we dig up these past lives, to see what's there, to release it, because usually if there's past lives and energies running, that's that's still controlling our life today, and it's going to propel us to do the same kind of pattern, to act out in the same kind of patterns. So, what you were saying about um, certain things that you're predisposed to, right? Well, that's true, and that's great, if that's because there's a life purpose. We all have a purpose in existence and being here. We all have a path, a gift that we have. Uh, but you can't fully access that if you're running away from it because of fears or
Hmm.
traumas.
Is this the same in your feeling of when people say quote unquote shadow work?
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
Shadow work. Yeah, that's a different term for it. And it's
Okay,
very
so
important.
but it is essentially touching on the same principle.
Yes, it
Mm.
is. And honestly, I find this to be some of the most healing work. 'Cause
Mm.
it's awesome. It's great to keep looking towards the light and to just bring love and light. And I see this happening in the spiritual community so much, is people are just like doing yoga and breath work and meditating and love and light,
Hmm.
but then they're not looking and not addressing or healing their shadow stuff, which continuously comes up in all these sneaky ways,
Yes.
you know. And they find themselves either ungrounded or not financially stable or lashing
Hmm.
out in random events, random places, or binge eating or whatever it is, that you're not addressing, will be there, and it will be controlling your life and holding you back from really being your full light. So,
Hmm.
so one of the greatest works I've done with myself, person, and I can talk about is doing shadow work, is going into the deepest, darkest places within myself, and looking at those places and healing them and loving them and integrating them and bringing them to the light, because once you shine light on a dark place, what happens? The darkness melts away and becomes light. So that's my message basically from my experience and from working 6 years with so many people, is greatest healings you'll ever get is when you really look at yourself and all these dark places and shine light on it.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we brought that principle up, because one of my pet peeves in the greater, you can call it conscious or unconscious conscious community, as I sometimes call it,
Yeah, exactly.
is this whole thing of, love and light. And I'm definitely not cynical. I'm not a cynical person at all. I see the polarities. I see all the colors on the color wheel, if you will. So I see how beautiful that is. But through interacting in the community as a public speaker and really like getting to know a lot of different people, I've come in myself as well. I've come to see that it's very convenient to put up a front, and I don't mean a front in terms of like somebody's being manipulative overtly, but in the sense of, I do yoga, I eat raw food, I do juice cleansing, I do this, that, and the other, and they're all positive things, right? Therefore, I'm a good person. Therefore, I'm love and light. But I don't always see. Actually, a better way to simplify what I'm saying is that I have seen in my personal experience a lot of these same people have very strong triggers in close quarters that aren't necessarily revealed in the public. And I've seen some actually very dark and vicious things come out of people that is totally in contrast to that quote unquote love and light perception. And I had wondered for years, like, whoa, what the heck was that? What just came out of that person? And
Hmm.
I came to realize through getting to know certain people, like, wow, okay, that person just isn't integrated. Like, they have been suppressing and regressing, or repressing, I mean, certain emotions or traumas that are literally translating into a trigger. Like, so if I say something or I confront somebody on something, this trigger comes up, and all this like waving of emotional like anger or pointing fingers back at me kind of thing starts to come up. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm just saying this has been my observation, and it totally correlates with what I'm hearing from you. And what I thought for a long time is like, we actually need to integrate all the fractals of our being so we can become a fulfilled, complete human being and not just a compartmentalized human being.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's what it's about. And I have also witnessed it so much, people, like yoga teachers just
Mm-hmm.
preaching and teaching love and light, sending out peace and love and light. But then, someone will come along who they don't like and they'll be triggered and treat them
They
horribly,
turn into like a different
and
person,
then they're
right?
like a different
Yeah.
person, and like, oh, you mean peace, love, and light only to some people, not everyone? So that kind of
mm.
shows, there, because, we treat others how we treat ourselves, and there's
Mm.
probably parts of themselves that they don't love. And
Mm.
I always look at that, and I don't take anything personally anymore, but definitely there's something to say about that. And I always say, just be love. Don't preach it, don't teach it. Like,
Mm.
you don't have to overtly, like, just be it. And that's the hardest thing, is like, of course you're gonna be loving to people who are nice and loving, but when someone comes who's just a complete douchebag or asshole, or like, does something horrible, then can you love that? Can you love that
mm.
person? Those are our teachers. When someone triggers you, instead of just reacting to them, or saying them negative vibes or cutting them off, maybe like look into yourself, like, oh, what is it in me that got triggered right now? Like, what am I feeling? And take responsibility for that, and looking at that as like, wow, this is my teacher. Like, this person's showing me something about me. And I just have gotten the habit of taking responsibility for all my feelings and emotions. And if there's something that I feel off or not good about, then I look into myself and just try to backtrack and trace it into, yeah, what part of me is this coming from? Where have I not loved myself? And when I started doing this, it really shifted a lot in me. I can't even tell you. I took my power back, instead of being reactional to other people's energies or to what's going on outside, because you can't always control what's going on outside. There's the world with people's creations, there's other co-creators, but we can definitely learn to not react, and that takes practice and work. And of course, sometimes when you do react, then or you get triggered, but then you look into yourself, and then you heal that part of yourself, so then you won't be triggered anymore. There's a quote that comes to mind that says, you will be tested until you will no longer be triggered.
That's beautiful. It's so funny. I thought about, as you were sharing, I thought about the times when I do react, and I have these subtle judgments of like, oh, geez, these tourists in Kauai, like I've been here for like 5 months, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, these people just coming over to Kauai and they're not giving back to the land and they're causing traffic, blah, blah, blah. And then I stop myself. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, what's that about? And I notice the emotional state that I'm in. I'm like, ooh, that feels contractive. Like, ooh, that feels heavy on my chest and my heart. And then I start to feel like I just did something to myself. Like I didn't do anything to anybody else. Even having the thought and the vibration of that, I felt that I just injected myself with poison. And I'm feeling the physical effect of that toxicity from just my thought pattern.
Exactly, exactly. And that's how you know, because feelings are the language of the body. Like, thoughts are the language of the mind. So they're connected. Our feelings and our thoughts are definitely connected, because for every thought, that happens in the mind, there's a chemical that gets released in the body. And for positive thoughts, you get happy, positive feelings, you get feel-good vibes, right? Like when you're thinking of someone you love or someone who makes you feel good, you instantly feel good, like you feel it. And when you start to judge or criticize or blame, then you start to feel not good. And most people are so used to this, either being this yin yang, feeling good, not feeling good, or just feeling bad a lot, where they don't even notice. It's just like such a normal state of being for them that they don't notice the difference, right? But you notice because you are usually in a good state, in a positive, in a
Usually, yes.
consistent state of peace, right? So when you don't feel that, you're more aware of your body, right? You're more awake, you're more aware of what's going on inside of you. So then you can stop yourself and say, oh, wow, I'm not feeling good in my body. Let me pause for a second and let me see what I was thinking about before this feeling. And then usually when you backtrack, when you trace, then you can see that, oh, you're coming from these thoughts of judgment, of thinking like, who are these people? Why are they on this island? Blah, blah, blah. And you can trace it down, and then you can start to see how it correlates, the not feeling good with the not thinking good.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I feel like it is just a further unraveling or unpacking of some of that shield that a lot of us carry to protect ourselves from perceived danger. That I trace back from more of being in the zoo-like environment of the city, and then seeing like being here on the island. And over the years of being in this kind of environment, just seeing a lot of that drop off. But it's interesting, when it drops off, it's not like, if it feels, at least this is my experience, it feels like a big weight has been dropped off, but then there's also that part of me that is so used to having a shield that it's almost painful. It like there's a resistance to dropping it off. So then I notice, now I'm able to just observe it. But before it was like this tug of war effect of like, like dropping the shield. Oh, that feels good. No, pick it back up. Oh, it feels heavy again. And going and doing this back and forth thing until I could get some like real self clarity to realize like, actually I don't need to like totally drop the shield. I just need to integrate it into me. That part of me that feels maybe wounded or feels helpless in a way, or doesn't want to receive constructive criticism, whatever that I guess I would even call it insecurity is. Whatever that is, I need to, as you said, nurture it and not avoid it, but actually like, talk to it. Whatever, I don't know, like whatever modality works for me or the individual, but to not to run away from it is what I'm getting at. And I find that I had done that for many years, as many people do, in whatever way I was using to channel that feeling that I was avoiding. So yeah, it's interesting. A lot comes up for me as I listen to you share. So I'm totally in resonance with that. But I really want to ask you this question. I think this is going to be super insightful for a lot of people. In the work you do and just your own perspective, how does our sense of deserving what we aspire for in life actually affect our ability to stay consistent with the action steps and a sense of conviction required to actually create those things that we want?
Oh, good question. A sense of deserving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that makes the whole world of a difference, is whether you believe in yourself, whether you think that you deserve to receive something or not. And it's such a, it's such a tucked away, sneaky feeling that you may not be aware of, and that is totally in the subconscious awareness, and is definitely a huge block in manifesting and creating more abundance, more love, more joy. Because even if you do create those things, let's say, you'll not be able to really receive them and really allow them, or maybe for a short time, but not for a long time, if you don't work with your personal feelings and clearing the emotions of not believing that you deserve. And most people are not even aware of that one. I was not aware of that one until I started to dig deeper and deeper in myself to see, well, what's my blocks? Why am I not able to have this and this and this in my life? Why can I sustain, like loving relationships or more financial abundance? And when I dug deeper, I found that, wow, there's a huge wound, which is actually found in the solar plexus and the sacral chakra, and it's in the form of shame and guilt. And shame and guilt literally block us from manifesting, literally block us from receiving, from having abundance and love and joy and money and all the good things. Maybe some things can trickle down, but depending how much guilt and shame we carry in our emotional body, right? So we have our chakras, and they get blocked too. So these energies usually, these emotional energies get blocked in certain areas of the body, and that correlates to certain areas in our lives. And I found that indeed working with a lot of people to get clarity and to get flow in their life, in themselves, in their happiness, is definitely working with deservingness and worthiness of do I deserve to have this in my life? And there's ways you can find out that, through questioning, through muscle testing, through dowsing. But what I found usually at 95% times correlates to some programs, some belief systems that we're not deserving. We don't deserve to have this thing. So no matter how much you're going to work on love and light and affirmations and positive thinking and the secret and law of attraction, you call it in, yes. But if you don't look at your shadow, which is, maybe traumatic events or memories or painful things that happen in our past. And let me tell you, most people have some kind of trauma from childhood or past life that they're working through.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're here. That is why we're here in these bodies at this time, is to work through our shit, literally, through work through our karmic shit. And that stuff is there. And that's part of the shadow work that I do. That's part of the, subconscious clearing that I do, that really, really works well when you go into these places in yourself, and when you look at like where did you store a memory in your subconscious of a past, time where you felt ashamed of yourself, or you felt guilty about something that you've done in the past, or something that you're doing still, and you're not addressing that. So that is a huge block. That's a huge block in manifesting right there. So when you go and clearing those things, like literally you release, and you release energy in your body and in your life, and you create this amazing flow, and you align your chakras, and you create balance and just centeredness and clarity. And then you literally will notice, like, sometimes instant manifestations of the things you do want, and you'll be able to keep it and sustain it, as opposed to just call it in, see it, and then it goes away because you don't believe that you're worthy of having that. And most people, as I said, most people are so not even aware that they have this until they do this deeper kind of work.
Yeah, immediately when you mentioned the word shame, I thought of David Hawking's book Power versus Force. And when I first read that years ago, one of the things that caught me about that on the calibration scale is on the lowest scale of calibration, meaning the emotional state that calibrates at the lowest state of consciousness in his verbiage, was shame. And
Mm-hmm.
I really clicked for me. I took that away. I even wrote about that in one of the books I'm working on. I'm working on like 5 at any given time. But I wrote this thing actually in my recent book, the Inner Alchemy Youthing Program. In one of those phrases, I really got touched on that idea of shame, and really dove into that, how it affects, just from a health and vitality and a youthful perspective. To me, like the idea of shame and guilt is, it can be a beneficial course correction, like an ability to reroute our behavior if we have been integritous, we've been inauthentic, and we've been on, we've hurt somebody. It's a good thing in the moment to feel that, but then if you don't course correct and you continue to feel that all the time and replay that, then it becomes like a corrosive state of feeling, where it literally corrodes your state of health. It weakens you, from a physical perspective, not to mention everything that you just shared about your ability to actually operate in a vibratory state that you can attract the things that you actually want to attract to your life. So I really resonate with that. And I feel as though if we can really transmute that sense of shame and find out what the trigger is, what caused it, and we can alchemize that into its upgraded form, then we could really just shift so much in our life, immediately.
Yes, this is true. This is absolutely true.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. So I want to talk about some of your work. I'm looking on your website, and the book that caught my attention, the one that you just released, Time Travelers: Stories of Reincarnation. Can you share a little bit about this?
Sure. So this book I published last year, and it is it is based on the 6 years of my research and my experience with doing past life regression therapy work. And a lot of the experiences that I've documented from these past life regressions, I published anonymously, of course. Everyone has a different name, so you don't know who it is. But yeah, there's some amazing past life regressions in there, and I basically just documented and just translated onto book form what I found. I didn't want to really add my opinion or anything in it. I just wanted to share with the world that hey, this research exists. This is not just me doing this. Of course, there's other hypnotherapists, past life regressionists out there, but this is from my point of view, and this is what I've come to find as evidence for reincarnation being real. When I started, I was very open-minded. Yes, I wanted to just find out the truth about who I am as a human and why I'm here and where I come from. So that was my intention, but I had no idea that I would get so deep into this work and that I would be here where I am now. Like, I could not have fathomed that. So it wasn't like I set out with a theory like, oh, reincarnation is real and I'm going to prove it. Like, that's not what happened. For me, what happened is I just wanted to heal myself, and I just dug on deeper. And then all these people started to come to me and find me, and they wanted to do past life regressions. And of course, I was open to it, and I was like, why not? This is fun, and let's just see what happens. And I would just take notes in my notebook, and some of them were really out there, and some of them were really like just fantastic and beautiful and healing, and some were very traumatic. And so 6 years later, and 171 individual past life regressions later, I have a lot of evidence suggesting that this is real, and we definitely reincarnate, and we come back again and again and again.
Yeah, it actually seems very irrational to me at this point that wouldn't be the case. That this is just one go around, and the human species has been present on the earth for however long. I don't really believe anything anymore coming from the evolutionist perspective, or in terms of like dating, but that's a whole nother thing. But the fact that we as a soul being would reincarnate and travel throughout the, the duration that we've been on this planet, it just makes so much more sense without even having to know the knowledge of it, the idea of it. That to me actually makes a lot more sense than kind of the more, I would say, materialistic, scientific point of view that we have been indoctrinated with, which I believe is why perspectives like this are so hard to accept for a lot of people that have been indoctrinated. Yeah, I'll end on that. I just feel like it's such an obvious thing at this point, and it's really cool to see people like yourself that actually do this work. So it's no longer just a theoretical entertainment. It's actually something that's documented, and there's people that have gone through these experiences. I've met many people that have gone deep into this work that don't just swear by it. They know without a shadow of a doubt that this is real.
It certainly is. I'm definitely convinced, and not just convinced because I've seen my own past lives, but so many other people's, and the healing that comes from it, not only just the dates and names and places, that's great, but like the actual healing and the transformation that I've seen in these people as a result of these past life regression experiences, it's just so powerful and phenomenal that, to me, more than anything, like whether someone believes it's real or not, like at the end of the day, it's like, is it really making a difference, a shift
Right.
in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you able to be a better person as a result, and to heal and shift through things that you're working on? And most people that I work with do, and that's ultimately what it's here for.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Well, with the time left, I would love for you to actually share what you do for yourself, just in your lifestyle, your health approach. What does a day in the life look like for you?
I don't have a typical day, honestly. I very much definitely love to be in my body and to be in my life experience. And that's not something that has always been like this. I actually tried to run away from myself, from my human experience most of my life. I did not want to be here because I didn't understand why I'm here and how my body functions properly and what emotions are. Like, none of this was explained to me. I had to learn on my own. And when I figured out, that, oh, the foods that I eat affect my body and my consciousness and my feelings, then that shifted a lot. So now I pay attention to the foods I put in my body. So I prepare meals lovingly. I eat organic, whole foods. I exercise, I do yoga, breath work, I meditate. I like to really ground myself in my body, in my life, in my physical existence, and not run away from it. So that took a long time to get here too, but now just love myself, love my life, and it's shifted everything. So that's part of my daily self-care routine is being
Mm-hmm.
present
Mm-hmm.
and being present with everything that's going on. It's not like things are perfect, and things are like nothing bad's ever going to come up, or, things come up, but it's how you deal with it. And so I find that just the more that I shift my consciousness to feeling good and to peace and mindfulness, and that I choose the things that make me happy and that I love doing, then more of those things manifest in my life, such as fun, good times with my best friends or family, or, amazing meals shared with my friends, or um, clients that I love working with, work. Just feeling good generally and being happy and staying in an attitude of gratefulness no matter what's going on. Um, just
Mm-hmm.
enjoying life, really enjoying being present every minute, like as much as I can, just really being here. And yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah. Well, there's you mentioning that everything is not peaches and cream all the time. It's not perfect, which a lot of people can get a misinterpretation when they see you. They see your amazing glowing smile and the work you do and how happy you are. A lot of people tend to polarize and not really take into consideration that we're all actually human beings having this experience, and we go through our ups and downs. And I like what you said, that it's really how you handle a situation. That we're always going to have things happen to us and trigger us and test us until they no longer trigger us, as you said earlier. And
Hmm.
there's a term that comes out of herbalism, which is adaptogen, which is, to me, as a nutrition and health focused strategist, if you will, that's one of the things that I focus on with people and their health journey and transformation, is becoming more resilient to life's ever ongoing challenges. So you're not becoming reactive. You're able to actually adapt to any circumstances, and having that holistic view of your life via the thoughts, the emotions that you undertake or caretake, and the foods and the exercise, whatever that might be, and the specialized work that somebody is being called to do. All those things factoring in together create this incredibly harmonious and, I'll use the word again, integrative factor that for me, I'm really looking at how we're going through a full transformation process, and bringing all the pieces of the puzzle together in our own lives really makes us a better conduit for the I don't know if you the Akashic transmissions, if you will, that we're, that's why I look at it like, as a transmission device, like the human brain, for example. In the nutrition field, we get all worked up about the brain and brain nutrition, but we don't stop to think that it's actually a transmission device where we're conduiting certain insights and inspirations that lead us to manifestation. So anyways, my feeling from the nutrition perspective is that we're putting in foods that resonate with our specific type and constitution, that allow us to conduit the right thought forms that allow us to manifest or create the things that we want in our life.
Yes, absolutely. It's a cycle, The better you feel, the better you feel. The worse you feel, the worse you
Right,
feel.
yeah.
What are you feeding? Are you feeding your fears or the things you love?
Mm,
And just making those choices on a daily basis. And the more you do, the better you'll feel over time. And then you'll notice that your life does change physically, and shifts to a happier place where you will attract different vibrational people, happier people, more loving people. You'll attract greater work opportunities. You're not going to attract as much like bad stuff, like karmic things. So it all has to do with the choices you make, and making good choices for your body and for your mind and for your life will lead to having better experiences and a better experience in your body, in your life.
Beautiful. Great. That's a great note to conclude this conversation on. Where can everybody find out more about you and your work?
My website is www.livebliss.com. So my name is Anna Bliss, and my website is livebliss.com. And there's my email there. You can contact me directly from there. And my office is located in West LA. And I am definitely available for Skype sessions. They work just as well as in person. And if anyone is just curious about this type of work or wants to go deeper in themselves, or just open up to see what's there, then please contact me. I'm very happy to hear from you.
Yeah, and I have to say, you have a beautiful website, and I'm checking it out
Thank
myself,
you.
and I definitely recommend everybody definitely obviously go to the website, but then check out her services. She has it really well laid out. She even has music, guided meditations, and it looks like that you can download it. And it looks like you actually can customize certain personal hypnosis tracks for people too.
Yeah, I do all of that. Do personal customized hypnosis tracks. There's meditation tracks you can download. I have a meditation track for children specifically. I have my book available there. You can buy there. You can go to Amazon.com and purchase Time Travelers Stories of Reincarnation. That's a great book to just open up your mind about past lives and reincarnation, or contact me directly, send me an email, and I will reply.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being on the show with me.
My pleasure, Ronnie. This was great. Wonderful talking to you.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the official Ronnie Landis podcast, even a fraction as much as I did, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of people got a lot of aha moments, a much deeper insight into this specific work for sure, and how that it could benefit your life. Like I said before, check out Anna's work, go to her website, and see if it resonates with you. And until next time, we will see you again. Aloha.
Aloha.